It's an uprising. It's an uprising. We're rising up. It's an uprising. We're rising up. It's an uprising.
Hello, everybody. I am your host, Edie Arndell, and I have a wonderful guest tonight, Justin Paglino. Great to have you here. And my co-host is coming on.
Hey.
There's Mr. Scott Free. What's up, Scott?
How you doing?
Hey, Scott.
Good.
Hey.
Nice song.
Thank you. That's, it's called Uprising for those who want to
song.
Go search it. Yeah. No, it's really fun. We're using it for a lot of our shorts too. It works for this series.
Yeah. Yeah, well, we have a very special guest tonight. Justin Paglino. He ran for Congress before. He ran for Senate in Connecticut. He is the co-chair. The list is long. I have to keep looking. He's the co-chair of the Connecticut Green Party, and he's one of our new national co-chairs. So, yeah, he was a field director for Jill Stein. So, you want to tell us a little bit about any of that you'd like to talk about?
Sure, thanks. Well, yeah, I guess I kind of have really dived in. What's that? Is everything okay, Scott? I see you making a sign. No? Okay.
He's got to leave.
He's got to leave. Okay, bye, Scott. Yeah, I've really kind of dived into the Green Party since I first got involved. Before that happened in 2019 or so, I had just been a Democrat, a frustrated progressive Democrat who's always getting mad at the leadership of the party for what was more and more clear, a kind of disdain for the progressive wing of the party and a desire to just have us kind of be quiet and not ever let the progressive wing of the party gain any real power within the main leadership of the party. And, I saw it back from Obama and, after what happened to Bernie, I think a lot of people just realized, this just feels like barking up the wrong tree. And I got frustrated. I decided I learned about ranked choice voting around the same time.
Mm-hmm.
I was listening to more and more podcasters who were kind of opening my eyes to the rot at the core of the Democratic Party and reading authors like Thomas Frank, who was talking about, Listen Liberal, talking about the corruption within the Democratic Party. And, I was listening to Howie Hawkins, and I was learning about ranked choice voting and about the fact that we could move beyond the two-party system. And I became very committed to the idea that we should move beyond the two-party system. We really should. There's an op-ed, I think in today's New York Times, really quite, and one of the co-authors is, I think, one of the editors of the Times, which kind of surprises me. But it's a really elaborate piece with some nice graphics, and it goes into a lot of detail about proportional representation. And here's what our Congress would look like if we had 6 parties. And they break it down, like they come up with names of 6 different parties, and they say, here's what the Congress would look like, with 6 different parties instead of just the 2. And
did they name it like specifically, or did they just kind of just make up things? I'm curious.
Yeah, they made up names. Well, they had like the new populists and the progressives and the I don't know, the liberals or something like that, or the liberal Democrats and the Christian conservatives and
so a fair representation of how people actually feel. That was kind of what I'm curious about.
Yeah.
Well, that's fascinating.
Yeah, they did polling. I'm forgetting the guy's name, but the other author has written books has done a lot of writing about how we get away from the two-party system. Mm-hmm. And this is what I really would like to have people to having conversations about is, are you happy with the two-party system? Because if you're not, and most people are not, you should know that there is a way to reform our democracy to make it multi-partisan. The article goes into detail about how most other democracies, if they're not parliamentary democracies, they have some form of proportional representation
Right.
that allows them to have multiple parties and not just two. So we're kind of, just behind in our democracy, and it really needs an upgrade.
Yeah.
And once you come to realize this, you can't really go back to being satisfied with fighting within the two-party system.
Yeah. Yeah. You see it differently. I mean, look what happened to, all the progressive attempts to overtake the Democratic Party. They always fail because the leadership of the Democratic Party won't allow it.
Yeah.
Even Bernie, even though he says he's an independent, he always caucuses with the Democrats. And if you pay close attention, his language only goes as far as the Democratic leadership does. I don't think he was saying ceasefire until they started saying ceasefire. And now that they have zero power to do pretty much anything, I don't know what they can do now. They've lost everything in DC. Now they start sounding like a progressive. And I'm like, that's just to keep everybody in the party.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we still hear you, but we didn't do anything about it for 4 years, So, yeah, I kind of had a similar path. I started with Bernie 2016, brought all these ideas that I didn't realize were Green Party ideas. And then I tried again in 2020, and then I left after that. And I'm like, no more Democratic Party for me. And I'm happy to be here.
Yeah. Yeah, and you realize that you see what happens to someone like AOC, who comes into the Democratic Party talking Medicare for all and talking about very progressive ideas, and then she gets really quiet because when she's in office, because they are incentivized not to embarrass their leaders. Their leaders will be upset, and they have power over them. They have leverage over them. So, and then, when it comes around to the presidential election time, everyone's expected to support the nominee of the party, no matter how conservative, neoliberal, neoconservative they may be, like Joe Biden. All the Democrats are, it's like heresy to not support the presidential candidate of your own party.
It kind of reminds me of Game of Thrones. You have to bend the knee.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right?
Yeah. I mean, well, I have to admit, I didn't watch much of that series. I missed it, but
it's
I take your
fantastic,
point.
but it's a little racy, and it's very violent, but it's very good. So
I've heard it's very good, and I'm not avoiding it for any particular reason other than I don't have an HBO subscription.
Yeah.
But so what we really need, and I kind of get it. Like, I mean, in the Green Party, we go through a lot of trouble to pick our nominee. And then once we have a nominee, we ask all the state parties to support the nominee. And, there's, and actually there really are expected to. It's kind of like you're in trouble if you don't.
Right.
And I kind of get it within a party that makes sense. But, the problem is when you try to fit everyone's into two categories, when you try to fit all the diversity of opinion that exists in America into two buckets, you end up with basically the most moneyed and powerful voices are going to rise to the top of those two buckets. And then everyone is just squeezed into one or the other. And people are tired of it. People are checking out. So the good news is when you talk to someone and they tell you, I'm tired of the two-party system, you can tell them there are simple solutions, and they're called ranked choice voting and proportional representation. And I hope we can look forward to keeping that conversation going. And we're here. The reason we're here in the Green Party is to is to be building towards that future. We're building one of those future parties, hopefully in 50 years or who knows how long it will take. You know, the Green Party will be one of many parties in the United States that are in equal footing, that have equal airtime, that have equal funding from public campaign finance. I mean, these are my dreams. But you know, if you want a multi-partisan democracy, you have to build it. You know, right? You can't just.
Yes.
People say, "Well, we'll worry about third parties once we have more ranked choice voting, once we have, you know, the reforms." Well, you know, that's not really. You have to do both. You know,
You're never going to get it. You're never going to get it because they don't want it, because they don't want the competition.
Yeah.
And one of the main reasons that I finally made it here to the Green Party, and I'm so happy about it, was the ballot access. Because people that have never tried to help someone get on the ballot in their state have no idea of the way that the Democratic Party cuts you off at every turn. They sue you. They make the signature requirements outrageous, so you have to collect it double at least, if not triple, because they will go through it with a fine-tooth comb and try to get rid of as many signatures as possible. They don't want the competition, and they're the ones making the rules. So ballot access, for me, even before ranked choice voting, because if we're not on the ballot, we can't be ranked.
Yeah.
So, and the reason I like Jill's campaign, I started doing the math, and I'm like, should she take some states, she could possibly win. You know, she is viable, and that's another thing people said. They're not viable. Like, yeah, you just have to vote for her.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
They're as viable as soon as you vote for her.
Yeah.
That's the second they become viable.
Exactly.
And I certainly worked on ranked choice voting quite a bit. I worked with Fair Vote in Illinois, and they're a great organization. And the thing about it does get into that issue of, it's like this, it's still a fear-based thing. I'm for ranked choice voting, absolutely for it, but it's kind of set up there to kind of help the people who are a little worried, right? Whereas once you get a commitment, you don't need ranked choice voting. If you're committed to making this change, you're going to do it, right? I don't need ranked choice voting. I'm voting for Green Party. I'm voting for Jill Stein. I'm voting, you know, and that's the thing. I get it that it's for those other people that are a little on the fence, and you know, but we have to convince people. And I maybe kind of have a concept more of accelerationist. I don't think it's going to take 50 years, because I think things like climate catastrophe, I mean, everything that's happening in the world, the Mangione situation, where people are just so fed up. And I think our solution's a little better than the Mangione solution, but it's still, the urgency is here. And so I think that actually things are going to happen faster. I do think that there has to be a rise in a third party. Otherwise, you know, we are close to collapse here. So
yeah. Green Party is nonviolent. Just saying.
Yes. No, I don't recommend it, but it was fascinating to watch. It was fascinating to watch, and really, honestly, to hear all of people's stories of just the nightmares they've gone through. And you know, it's such a crapshoot. It's such a, you know, getting cancer. It's so random. It's so, you know, and it's just when it hits you, and then when you're down, they deny your coverage. I mean, they're hitting the people at their worst. That's why there's so many emotions around this issue.
Yeah.
I mean, that's when they're getting the people when they're down. It's just,
of course, it's emotional. And of course, I mean, we have tens of thousands of Americans left to die for lack of insurance every year.
Yeah.
And it's inhumane. It's the way the system is set up. It's you know, basically, if you can afford healthcare, if you can afford to survive, you know, that's great for you. And then if you can't, you know, you are just left. And a lot of it is kind of people with the deductibles are one way they get you kind
Oh.
of think, oh, well, you have insurance, but then, when your deductible is, $4,000 or something,
Right. 8,000. I mean,
then people are choosing not to get care because they have to pay for it out of pocket, and they're ignoring that chest pain,
right.
right? Because
Right.
they don't want to have to find out that it's going to cost them something to deal, So we're all suffering through this needlessly because single payer healthcare would save over hundreds of billions of dollars a year.
Yeah.
And you look at the studies, and they'll all tell you that by cutting out the middlemen and the profit making and the dividends and all that, it would save hundreds of billions a year. The Congressional Budget Office found it would save hundreds of billions a year.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so this lie that we keep hearing, oh, we can't afford that. That's that's a rainbow. That's a, we can't afford not to. It's going to save money. It's only going to cost money for the people who are raking in a profit from the current system.
Right.
Yeah, they need to go find another job. I'm sorry.
Yeah, and
I think there are safeguards in there for like the regular people that work at those insurance companies. The rank and file that just do the work. A lot of plans have like some kind of transition for them, so it's not like we're going to jack up unemployment or anything. I mean, people have really thought this through. This has been around for a long time.
Oh yeah. A long time, decades.
And to think that there's a chunk of money going to shareholders. I mean, you can't think of anything more unnecessary than that. That is just, that's sick. That's really, really sick that people are profiting off others' illnesses.
And death. Mm-hmm.
And death. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. And again, these moneyed interests that are controlling the major parties all oppose it, and Nancy Pelosi won't let it have a vote, won't even bring it to a vote on the floor. And in California, they were going to have a single payer for the state bill, and then pulled it at the last minute.
Yep.
Right. Newsom, it was before his desk, and he voted no. Yep.
Yeah. CalCare. I was in California when that happened.
Yep.
Oh.
Yeah, I was in the LA March for Medicare for All. I lived in San Diego, but I went up and helped my friend. That's how I met her, was through that. And they tried very hard, very dedicated people, and they just shut it down at the last minute.
Right.
But we do have a question from, I think you know who, Mr. Ariel.
Oh.
Justin, was there a moment in your medical career when you became acutely aware of the flaws in the system? Can you share a specific experience, if any? I know you're not like a MD as far as like treating patients kind of thing.
Well, so I did get a medical degree, and I saw patients as as a clerk, during medical school, and then residency, I was doing clinical pathology, and that is mostly working in the labs, the clinical labs, like, is there, what kind of virus is in this person's blood or sputum or stool or what have you, or do they have parasites, or hematology work, looking at sickle cell. I did work in the blood bank where we saw some people getting blood exchanges or having transfusion reactions. So I had a bit of clinical exposure, but not enough. I never went into, say, primary care, where I saw a lot of people who were struggling with, the decisions about how to get care. So I learned about it, even though I have that medical background. I kind of learned about what Americans were going through like most of us, by reading about it. And it's very clear. We did have some conversations about health insurance in medical school and stuff and how it works. Surprisingly, though, we didn't have many talks about alternative systems and how we could have a single payer system. So, since then, I've learned there are Physicians for National Healthcare Program, which is an excellent organization, PNHP. and they have an active chapter here in Connecticut. There's a Medicare for All chapter here in Connecticut, and I've been involved with them in the past. So I just did a lot of reading and educated myself about how much sense it makes to switch, and Americans, it's not a hard argument to make. More care, comprehensive care for less money.
Mm-hmm.
But if you can't vote for it, it'll never happen, right? And it gets us back to, if you're supporting the Democrat who
Right.
opposes all the things you believe in just because they're better than the the proto-fascist on the other side or what have you. But neoliberalism and neoconservatism is rampant in the Democratic Party. You're not going to get a good foreign policy, a respectful foreign policy from the Democrats, and you'll get a lot of lip service, but you won't get Medicare for all from the Democratic Party.
No.
You're not going to get real. They kind of do as little as they have to do to kind of just keep above, just maybe a little bit above the Republicans on some issues, just so that people can feel good. Like I'm in the better party. I'm with the good guys. They're the bad guys. But as the Republicans sink lower, they sink lower.
Oh, absolutely.
And move to the right.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, they do. No, I mean, the whole thing with the Zionism has just exposed them for being complete, utter frauds. Fraud, I don't know, but evil. I mean, I can't believe when we watched, the genocide happening, how the Democrats were fully on board. I mean, the votes were astounding. I could not believe the people that, Elizabeth Warren and these folks that, have this reputation of being the good guys. I mean, just watch them vote to starve and bomb Palestinians. It was shocking.
Yeah.
It was shocking.
Yeah.
And,
We do have we do have a question.
Yeah. I'm still kind of reeling from go ahead, Edie, but I'm still reeling from the disappointment of how, for all the outrage we saw against the genocide in Gaza, I really thought it would grow bigger and translate into more of a political opposition. And it's just been disappointing. The two-party system has been an obstacle for people's anger to get translated in our political system that's not representative.
Yeah.
But I also think I'm also disappointed there hasn't been even more outrage among the general public, but that's also partly because we get a sterilized, propagandized version of the news.
Yeah.
So it's all difficult. It's all uphill challenges. But again, are you going to change anything working within the Democratic Party? I don't think so.
No.
So we have a question from Michelle Devalier.
Oh, hey, Michelle.
Oh, I don't know how you say your last name. And the Democrats still refuse to admit genocide is why they lost. It's absolutely why they lost.
Yes.
People voted for Trump just so they would lose. I think some people actually did.
Yeah.
I mean, I wanted them to come vote for Jill. And I know you did, both of you did as well. So she's got another one here, but go ahead if you want to speak to that.
Yeah, well, first of all, hi to Michelle. I got to know Michelle over the course of the campaign. I met Ariel in New York when I was collecting signatures. We were collecting signatures in New York City. I got to meet Michelle, not just in Connecticut when she came to help us with our petition drive in Connecticut, but also with Jill on a trip to New York and Philadelphia. And so Michelle was an amazing super volunteer, traveled all over the country with her son, Ian. And sorry, what was the question again that she asked?
Refusing to admit.
Yes, I know Michelle too.
Oh yeah. Genocide is why they lost.
Yeah. No, I mean, the Democrats have never been ever been good or honest about admitting why they lose an election, and they will blame anybody but themselves. And if they do blame their own policies, they'll just say, "Well, we just didn't communicate them well enough," or like we just didn't make it clear enough how much we were helping people. It was a communication problem. Like we didn't, we didn't explain it well enough how much we're helping you economically. And
No,
they,
I think we get it.
And the thing is, they are fully aware too. They are not ignorant. They're not incorrect. They know exactly what they're doing. They're just in a more difficult position. They have to sell that they're the good guys. And that's a harder sell when they're evil. I mean, the Republicans can be evil and proud of it, right?
Yeah.
But the Democrats, it's a harder sell. They have to figure out these, ways to try to convince the people, again, it's just, so please stay with us. Please stay with us as, we do nothing for you and make your lives miserable, but stay with us,
And, one thing that kind of occurred to me during the Jill Stein campaign is, we get accused sometimes of being, they use this word grifters. Like they talk about the Jill Stein campaign like it's all just some kind of scheme, like we're in it making all this money. And I turn around and look at the Democrats and I say, look at these guys. I mean, look at the amount of money that they are pulling in compared to us. And the whole infrastructure that they have, all the employees they have, all the and then of course all the the elected offices they hold and all the power they hold. And they if anyone's running a confidence game, it's the Democratic Party, because they are selling you, they're getting you to have confidence in them, right? That they're here to help you. They're the good guys. And it really only works if you have to be kind of a low information voter, honestly, to really believe it anymore.
Right.
When you kind of dig deep into what the policies are, I mean, if you have like a light kind of tangential attention to what's going on in politics, like you read the headlines or you watch the CNN or MSNBC occasionally, but you don't really dig in very much, you're going to walk away with the impression that they are the good guys and they seem good and they talk nice and they speak good values. But when you watch what they do, like Chris Murphy, who I ran against in the Senate, seems like a nice guy. He seems to genuinely care about gun violence, and I think he's honest about that. But in the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, he's been part of, he voted to send more weapons to Israel in April, months and months into the whole ongoing genocide. He was actually on stage with John McCain in Kiev during the Maidan,
the coup.
Wow.
Right?
I didn't know that. Know that.
Yeah, we have more questions, by the way.
Unreal.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Anyway, so my point is, they are really the ones conning America.
Oh gosh, if he was part of the Ukraine
101.
coup, he's absolutely conning. And if he says that he's anti-gun and yet he's in Ukraine during the Maidan coup, funneling all those guns into that country, which is the most corrupt country in Europe, those guns are all coming back to us.
It's called lying.
Yeah.
I'll go to the questions now. Michelle asked this a while ago. Are you familiar with Dr. Joe Jarvis from Utah, who promotes universal health care?
I'm not. I don't know. I've heard of the Jarvis heart. I don't know if that's related to the doctor who invented the mechanical transplant heart.
Ooh, I don't know.
But that might be a different Jarvis. But I know there are so many medical professionals and so many, academics. I mean, the argument again for single payer healthcare is just overwhelming. And the public support for it is huge. I mean, is it 60%? Is it 80%? I mean, it depends maybe how you ask the question, but it's a majority support. And the problem is translating that support into political motion in a system that is not representative,
Right.
because it's corrupt and because it's the two parties is not a representative system. And so we have to again move in the direction of a more democratic, functioning democratic system. This article I was talking about was also talking about increasing the number of Congress people, because when one congressperson is representing 750,000 people, it's a very distant relationship. It's kind of like, if one congressman is responsive to 30,000 people, they're going to have to, it's a lot more likely that they're going to have to please those people. You can't ignore that. It's a smaller number of people that you can ignore and get away with it. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. And they don't even have town halls anymore. My congressperson, I find out he's been somewhere after he's been there. We have Justin Beth is in the house.
Hey, Justin.
What's up,
Hey, you've got
Justin?
viewers all over the nation tonight.
Great interview.
Justin.
Hi, Edie, Scott, and Justin.
Hey, Justin.
Here's a question for Justin. Have you joined the Doctors Against Genocide group yet? I think I know some folks who could bring you on.
Well, I'm glad Justin brought that up. And hello to Justin from Maine, who came down and helped us gather signatures here in Connecticut, and actually stayed at my house a night or two. Right. So, that's one nice thing about the Green Party, isn't it? That you get to meet people all over the country, and it becomes kind of a friendly, it's like a family. It's kind of like a community. It is a community of people who come to these same conclusions. Doctors Against Genocide, I've been really encouraged to see healthcare workers for Palestine and Doctors Against Genocide here in Connecticut have been keeping the momentum going. I was just at one of their protests today at noon in front of Yale New Haven Hospital in New Haven. They're doing protests every week, and I've started sharing their information on Instagram so that people can know in advance when the protests are going to be. It's important to keep our opposition to the genocide visible, because there's every attempt made to keep it invisible, to keep it off the air, but it's still free enough of a country that you can stand on a corner and wave the Palestinian flag and wear your keffiyeh and say stop genocide. And at least while we still can do that, we better keep doing that.
Yes.
Yeah.
And Edie and I have started with the Illinois Green Party a monthly. Well, it's going to be the first one is going to be February 7th. We're starting a monthly general strike, and we're using the term general strike. We just mean in terms of a general action people can take depending on their situations. So we have graphics on it all over the social media, so you can find those there. But we are asking folks to, if they're a student, stay home from school. If you are a worker and can do it, call in sick for work. Make no purchases on that day, and shares social media graphics about the genocide, the ongoing genocide in Gaza. And we're going to be promoting that greatly around everywhere. And so please be on the lookout for that. Our first one is February 7th, and then it's going to be March 7th and April 7th until we get some actions from our government. The main action is to have an arms embargo on Israel. That's the main one, because that's what has to happen.
Two. And then I added two more, because that's how I do. I'm like, great idea, Scott. And let's put this in there. I said immediate humanitarian aid of all kinds, whatever they need, they should have it immediately. And for us to honor the ICC's arrest warrants. And I left it open-ended because, I'm hopeful maybe a couple of U.S. people might be in there. I did want to comment on Dr. Joe Jarvis, and if I'm thinking of the correct person, he's going to be on our show at the end of the month in 2 weeks.
Oh, there
He
you
was one
go.
of the people that did the Healing US or Healing Us. I'm going to have to ask him how they say it. Healthcare movie, which
Excellent.
tied into the March for Medicare for All, because some of those same people that I volunteered with and met while doing that are actually in the movie. It's narrated by Susan Sarandon, and I got in touch with them, and they re-upped it on Kinema, so you can screen it anywhere you want.
Excellent.
So it went to the private market, and in order for you to do it in public, you have to get like the special licensing. So they just put it back on Kinema
Nice.
until 2030.
Okay.
We do have,
Okay.
I think this is related to Dr. Jarvis. You have to ask Michelle. He's PNHP. He promoted Whole Washington Healthcare Initiative.
Okay.
Yep, I met some of those folks too. Laura Fielding, Georgia Davenport. At least virtually met them.
Yeah.
And we got lots of comments. If you guys don't mind, I'm gonna go through them real quick. What's up, Joe? Politics is entertainment division of the military industrial complex. Frank Zappa. You're gonna love that, right?
Yeah,
Scott?
that is true.
Mm-hmm.
And I did want to add just quickly that, they talk about, oh, is this a genocide? What makes it a genocide? The bombing of hospitals, the capturing of doctors and nurses and torturing them and killing them. That's, another reason why this is not war, this is genocide. I mean, their intent is to destroy any possible aid to the Palestinians, including medical aid. So it absolutely is a genocide for those who still question that term.
It's the attempt in whole or in part to erase a culture or a people. Go ahead.
Completely erase them.
Yeah. Well, and that has been kind of the desire of the state of Israel since 1948 or before. Right. Even for decades before the establishment of a state, was the dream of creating a ethnically, religious state in that area. And the problem was there were already people living there, the native inhabitants. And so, if there's a great documentary you can watch from Al Jazeera called Al Nakba, and it's kind of a 4-part documentary that you can watch on YouTube for free, and it goes through the entire history of the creation of Israel and how at first, before at first, the Jews and the native Palestinians had been living there for centuries. Well, after World War I, the British took over, and this idea was germinating among several people within the Jewish community to have a Jewish state. Mm-hmm. And they fought anyone. They gained power. They eventually made it happen. Eventually, even the British kind of said this is going too far. It's going to become a mess, and they started committing terrorist acts against the British there in the state of Palestine, the bombing the King David Hotel.
Right.
And they eventually found allies in the United States. But the point is, to make this happen, they had to displace people. They displaced 700,000 people in a matter of months and killed tens of thousands. They would kind of they had to clear out entire villages. In 1948, they would go town to town. They would bring out several people and kind of shoot them in this town square and look around at everybody else and say, is that what you want to happen to you? Or are you going to leave? And people would leave, and they would march on the streets. It's called Al Nakba. The whole idea from the beginning has been a bad idea, that we're going to ethnically separate. It's kind of like all the horror that happened when Pakistan separated from India, and we said we're going to ethnically segregate the population. It's never a good idea. It's never a good. We have to learn to live together with each other, regardless of our ethnicity and our religion, right?
Right.
This whole idea of having just one identity for a nation state, it's never a good idea. I think it was Thomas Jefferson said, and obviously he was a slave owner. I'm not going to defend him on all kinds of things, but he did say, the reason we have instituted separation of church and state is to keep forever free from our shores the blood that has soaked the soil of Europe for centuries. And so this idea was doomed to fail. This idea of having a religious state was never going to be able to, something that could only be enforced through violence and violent displacement, and that's the way it's remained. So, people who think history started on October 7th have to learn there's a long history, right, and there's just been decades of injustice. Jimmy Carter said it was the greatest violation of human rights that he knows of in the world, the plight of the Palestinian people. Mm-hmm. And Jimmy Carter has his own faults as well. I mean, supporting the military of Indonesia during the genocide in East Timor, for example. There are no saints, but we have to. But we have to, like, when somebody is right, we have to give them credit for at least saying something right.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. No matter what side of the aisle you're on, if you get it right in that moment, I'll give you credit for being right in that moment.
Yeah.
We've got lots of comments. Ariel wants to know what your Instagram handle is.
I think it's just Justin Paglino.
It is, yeah. I followed you today, so.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And then Michelle and I have been having a bit of a conversation in the chat here. When I was talking about Dr. Jarvis, so it's the same person. She said yes. And talking about the Red Berets, which that's a Laura Fielding. That's how I got introduced to that. Michelle did much of the Barry work in the picture.
Wow.
Yeah.
Nice.
And I said the activists world. And then I corrected it a little with lots of very dedicated people that do a ton of work. So that's why we need you, so we can get more very activated lefties to do even more work to get us on the ballot everywhere.
Yes.
And
which
help
is
us
what
win.
Which is what I really want to see happen this year. I know that we have people coming to us on here and there. We get people either go to the national website and sign up, and then they'll send them to us here in Connecticut. Or we had people who came to us through the Jill Stein campaign, through my campaign for Senate. We formed relationships with Connecticut Palestine Alliance, the Connecticut Palestine Solidarity Coalition, a number of groups, and that we formed relationships with. We spoke at Islamic cultural centers that invited us to come and gather signatures there. Jill won 55% of the Muslim vote, right? Yeah. In the U.S.
Yeah.
Wow. I did not know that. That's
amazing. Yeah. That's amazing, right?
Absolutely.
Because of course they are the most, they know what's going on. They have family. You can't propagandize them. You can't spin this and fool them into thinking it's just, something that has to be done or something. They know how extreme the situation is and how immoral it has been. So, and I wish that understanding went extended further among the population. But when you have directly, a lot of them have direct family connections and so forth. So anyway, a lot of the new people here in the Green Party are coming from the Muslim American community, and which is wonderful. And I hope it is going to be a year of expansion for the party. I'm hoping that local parties are going to find ways to welcome the new members, give them work to do, keep them involved. It takes some planning and thinking about how you're going to operate your state party, how you're going to keep it engaging for people. Even now, it's January, and there may be some early year elections, but most elections aren't until November. But now is the time to be thinking about, planning events, movie screenings, social events. We had a social fundraiser in December where I saw some new faces, which was nice. All that takes work, you have to find a venue and so on. I did get the food. I had somebody volunteer to play some music for us and so on. Build your community, make it fun, making it engaging. It's kind of about, you really have to form human connections with people so that they will want to keep working with you. It's a working relationship,
Right.
And some people come and go, but the ones who stay are going to be really valuable for the party. And I think that I'm on a national level, I'm hoping we can talk more to each other as well. And I appreciate you doing this podcast as one way of continuing the conversation and getting people talking to each other. There's other folks who have kind of green radio shows, and I think that's wonderful.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And as we stole from one party, I don't remember, the slogan that we stole was, "We're the electoral arm of the social justice movement." I think the Green Party should who was that?
That was Zakir Siddiqui.
Zakir, yes.
He's green.
Yes.
And I'm like, can we steal that? And he's like, it's yours for the taking.
Which is, and it is, what you're saying, Justin, is so true, that it is, being a successful party is about building the relationships, and that we do have this in common. This, they call it officially 10 values, but it's just the idea that we do want to make the U.S. a better place. And right now it's really bad. I mean, it's really bad. The fact that our government has been so completely taken over by the CEOs of these companies. I mean, that's the original definition of fascism, was corporate control of the government. And that's what we have. Yeah. And so we have a ton of work to do. And so I think to me, that's where the strength of the Green Party is people have these shared values. And we're up against this incredible monolith of, power, and the other fascinating thing about it is, because of the internet, social media, that we've been able to get some of the word out about what the Democratic Party is trying to do to us, to destroy us during our elections, all the tactics they used, and the lawyers, and the illegal tactics, some of them that happened. It is building an awareness of the political realm that we exist in right now, and the what we are going to need to do to change it, to save the country, really.
I will also say that the Muslim population get it on a very personal level. However, I believe it was 70% of the country agree that it needs to stop. The issue is to convincing that 70% to vote that way, because they somehow in their brain, they have not connected the violence that we export is the violence that we also import. It is happening. I mean, our police forces are trained by the IDF. And then you wonder why people have knees on their neck, or that poor man, Robert Brooks, that was tortured to death in jail while he was handcuffed. Like, people have to start kind of seeing past the propaganda. We do have, that just hurt me. I couldn't even watch it. I just hearing about it was enough. Joe had a comment. USA is a colonial power with a history of genocide against indigenous people.
Absolutely.
History. If you know diddly squat about history, local or global. And now comes the Freedom Party, the sequel.
Well, yeah, people are, again, I think the social media is doing a wonderful job of letting young people know about histories that they did not learn about in school. I mean, people are getting a massive education.
Yeah.
And actually, it was really funny. Just the thing happening today that I saw is how folks are going, because they're going to try to shut down TikTok. They are moving to the Chinese version of TikTok, which is called Red Note. And so it's hilarious. Today, Red Note exploded. And and it was fun. I got on there and it's like, wow, this is so cool. It's like a China-based social media site that you can go on, and it does already seem very like TikTok. And yet it's so China focused. It's wonderful. So it's a great revenge to this corrupt system.
The censorship is backfiring
TikTok because of the Palestine content that's on there. That's why they're getting rid of TikTok.
Oh yeah.
And people aren't going to have it. We're fighting back. Red Note.
Well, I hadn't heard about Red Note. I have to look into that. That's interesting.
It just happened today. I swear to God. It was today.
Yeah.
It's the #1 downloaded site right now.
Wow. Yeah. No, I mean, it's true. When they can't, when they can't kind of massage the conversation with their influence over the company, and whatever tweaking they do to the algorithms, that makes it harder to speak out. It's amazing. Someone who was saying, well, there's all these other Chinese companies that we don't ban, and Chinese apps, and we do business with China.
Oh God.
And this is what fascist countries do, is that they do things. It's always in the name of national security.
Yeah.
That they're going to do things to increase control.
Just go read 1984.
That term is the most pathetic term, national security. I mean, they use that excuse for everything.
What about Homeland Security? When that came out, I'm like, ooh, that doesn't feel good.
Right.
That just feels wrong.
Yeah.
And if everybody just has read 1984, just read that book. You'll understand what's going on. And we have another book suggestion from Joe, A People's History of the United States by Howard Zinn. Should be required reading in high school. I know.
Oh,
yeah.
Dream on. And then
absolutely.
last one, Michelle says, we must all take initiative where we can. Run for office.
Yeah.
There you go.
There's another book I'm reading called A True History of the United States. And it's similar to the Howard Zinn book, People's History. But it's so far it's promising. I wanted to go back to who was it who said we need to be the electoral arm of the social justice? Who was it?
Dr. Siddiqui. He's Arizona co-chair.
Okay, great. Oh,
Arizona Party co-chair.
The new co-chair.
Yeah, he's the guy that runs the coffee shop.
Yes.
Yeah.
He was on our show about a month ago, I think. Yeah.
No, he's one of the new, part of the new blood that we have in the party, I think, thanks to Jill's run, Jill and Butch. So, which was a big part of the impetus for me for getting involved in the Jill Stein campaign was to see, to build. We have to get out there and show who we are to inspire people to want to come join us and fight. We have to get as much visibility as we can, speaking up our values. And that's what the Jill Stein campaign did. And even though we didn't get the reach we would have liked, but we did raise a pretty good amount of money, enough to keep our message going, enough for Jill to travel all over the country, and for Butch to travel around and get the message out and to bring people in. So that's a great, I'm very happy to see him as one of the new co-chairs in our party. But he's absolutely right. I think that we should be the electoral arm of all the environmental movement, the peace movement, as well as the social justice movement and the labor movement, the economic justice movement, because the Democrats aren't representing them. So what I see over and over,
healthcare justice.
Yep.
Yeah. Healthcare justice. What I see over and over is the environmental groups, the peace groups, the labor rights groups, healthcare justice groups, and the social justice groups supporting the Democratic Party, just because, for the same reason that a lot of liberals do, is they just see it as the lesser evil, the best they're going to get. You know, I went to a climate march in New York City, wondering how many of these people are going to vote for Joe Biden, you know?
Yeah.
And here they are, the most passionate people advocating to stop the catastrophe of global warming that keeps going on and on. And I just wonder how many of these people are actually even the most passionate people, right? The most like engaged people on this important issue. When it comes time to them, for them to vote, are they going to vote for the president who is, you know, exporting liquid natural gas and you know, maximizing our market share of gas in Europe by blowing up the pipeline,
the Nord Stream,
or you know, approving the Willows oil project, or you know, and their landmark climate legislation that they were touting is opens, you know, millions of acres, you know, thanks to Joe Manchin, they would say, but still, you know, the
Democrat.
there was a poison pills in that bill that make it a climate suicide pact, is what Brett Hartle of the Center for Biological Diversity said about that bill. So how many, you know, this is the
great
problem.
phrase.
Yeah. So how many of these activists, these passionate activists that legitimately care about the environment, about healthcare, about peace, but when it comes time for them to vote, they, you know, they agree with us, but they don't always vote for us. They vote for the lesser evil.
Because those organizations, you know, those NGOs have been infiltrated, and they always endorse the Democrat. You know, that's coming. And that's the thing. They have been infiltrated, and it's another propaganda way to get people staying within Democrats. Right. They are completely in contradiction with their beliefs. But that's, you know, that's one of the major problems, is all of these great organizations, when it comes down to it, they're going to endorse the Democrat. So they are doing the damage, you know.
But I will say that, you know, we have to do what we can to reach the people on the ground who are involved. Like there's here in Connecticut, the Sierra Club. There's a great activist. I know the Sierra Club is, generally speaking, at a national level, is wishy-washy. Yeah. But, you know, I know that some of these people are truly passionate about the environment, and, you know, I mean, the volunteers, you know, the members who,
yes,
and the people who, and some of them work really hard. Like they're working on this project, Stop Project Maple, which is a gas line expansion project in the Northeast that's running like through multiple states. And I met with one of the organizers, and, you know, my plan is to show up and to try to encourage our members to show up, because they are trying to stop a pipeline expansion. They're trying to do something good. And if we show up for them, right, when we show up and show that we are passionate, you know, and they say, hey, yeah, do you know anybody in the Green Party? Yeah, I know some people in the Green Party. They came and they helped us fight against this pipeline. That's the way I think that we can build up trust. And some of those people, who knows how many, and it, you know, it's not going to be the National Sierra Club endorsing us, but at least on the local level, if we can get some of those people to say, you know what, these green people are genuine, I'm going to support them when they run. Maybe I'll even join. Maybe I'll even run as a green. Who knows? So I think we have to really think on that grassroots level, that community level, about what we can accomplish on a person-to-person basis, and form those individual relationships of trust and, you know, just demonstration of our values by putting the work in. Because at the higher level you aim, the harder it is to crack.
That is true.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you have to make that personal connection, and Greens can show up on picket lines. They can go to other organizations' meetings and listen to what they have to say, see what they're working on. If you feel passionate about it, maybe help them a little bit, you know. Just in other words, kind of live what you believe in. We do have a whole bunch more comments. You're very popular. Sipsaw says, yeah, Sabby was discussing Red Note. She also mentioned that Trump might be close to securing a ceasefire deal. If that's the case, it could make the Democrats look even worse.
Yeah, there's weird stuff going on there. I had mentioned to Edie there. It was, the weird thing about Trump is he's such a wild card. He'll do this kind of stuff that obviously gets, the neocon deep state freaked out. Like he just recently on his Truth Social posted a video of Jeffrey Sachs of all people. I mean, it was hilarious. And in the video, Jeffrey Sachs is talking about the CIA involvement in Syria. I mean, you can't get more lefty than this. And Trump is now supposedly Trump put that out because Jeffrey Sachs had called Netanyahu like a something son of a bitch. And so that was the reason, because there was some personal thing going on. Who knows? But it's still, it's wild that, there is something happening right now with a possible ceasefire. I mean, Israel's definition of a ceasefire is let's kill them all really fast before we have the one day, and then we'll go back to it. I mean, that's what we call a ceasefire. So we'll see.
Here's another one. Michelle says MSM is trying to say, or was saying today, that Biden was getting closer to an agreement.
Well, of course, they're again, they're going to try to give Biden every single credit as he just gives $8 billion more in bombs. I mean, no.
We have another question. I'm sorry. Justin wants to know if you're going to the Workers' Strike Back Convention on February 22nd.
Yeah, that's pretty far for me. That's on the other side of the country. So I probably am not going to make that. I think it's worth going to. We've talked about it on the steering committee that we want to make sure at least some of us are going to be there. It's not going to be me personally, but
okay.
For example, Jason Call, who is our new treasurer for the Green Party.
Yeah, we know Jason. Oh yeah,
I met Jason.
Seattle. You know Jason, yeah. Yeah, of course. So he's there in Seattle, and Margaret Elizabeth. We have a lot of strong Greens out in that state, and so I feel as long as the party is represented and we can show up there with a few people, it's good. And I admire what Workers' Strike Back is doing, and they really have a focus on labor, but I also feel that the Green Party has to really we have to have those alliances, but we also have to do the work ourselves of reaching out to labor and forming those that we want to be the electoral arm of the labor movement, right? And there are other left parties, frankly, maybe who want to compete to be that. The People's Party ostensibly was the movement for a People's Party ostensibly, although who knows, I think it was a flash in the pan, but
it was. I was there. I saw the flash.
Yeah, but we've been here, like 40 years now, and there are other parallel organizations, and I think it's good for us to have relationships with them, but we also have to go back to remembering that we are trying to be your one-stop shopping for environmental, social justice, peace, and generate the candidates that you can vote for within our party that will represent you on those issues. So we have a lot of growing to do on our own, and I think it's good for us to have relationships with other organizations, and because there can be synergy and there can be collaboration. But still, at the end of the day, we need to grow our ranks, and we need to put forward candidates. And I'm hoping this year will be a year of strong growth at the local level. Working on the presidential level, I can tell you that where it was easiest for us to bring Jill in and to make an appearance was where there was already a strong Green Party. We couldn't do it all as remotely. We needed these people who were familiar with the area and could provide logistical support and help get the word out, and already knew the territory, to create an event that was worth, Jill and Butch showing up for.
Sure.
So, we have to grow in our strength at the local level so that we can support the up-ticket candidates even better in the future.
Scott and I couldn't agree more, and that is
Yeah.
exactly what we've been doing.
Right.
Great.
So, yeah. What is it we were saying today? This ain't your grandma's green party.
Yeah. There you go. Okay, not the best slogan. The other one was better.
I know. Nothing against grandma.
Yeah. No, but it's very, very important. And there's no doubt. I mean, I always talk about what a fantastic effect Jill Stein's campaign has had on the Green Party nationwide. Without a doubt. I mean, she was hitting the issues in the right way, making the right connections. She did really well in the social media world and brought great exposure. And you see it in Illinois. I mean, the Illinois Green Party has expanded tremendously with the Jill Stein campaign. They're without a doubt.
Great.
She is,
and I'm sure it's happening in many other states.
Yeah, she is the reason I'm here.
Right.
And doing the work. She inspired me. I drove to Homewood to meet her because I wasn't going to miss my chance. It was a very, very long day. I drove for 3.5 hours there, 3.5 hours back.
Yeah.
But it was worth it.
Well, in a lot of ways, I think maybe Jill Stein is one of the reasons I'm here too, because from her runs in 2012, 2016, I mean, I voted for her in Connecticut. I can't, maybe not 2012, but definitely 2016. And, but maybe even 2012, if I remember. It's going back a ways now. But, she just kind of speaks, voices the values of the party so clearly and is so knowledgeable and able to back up what she says. And, I think it was her basically that was my exposure to what the Green Party is about and what it means for years. And, working for her over the past year, over the course of 2024, just solidified that view even more, that she's an amazing person full of integrity and hard work and dedication to these values that we share. And so, I came away from the campaign only even more inspired.
Yeah.
And so I think, to me, that's when people say, "Oh, why do you run presidential candidates at all? Why don't you just start, running local?" I really think we have to try and do both, as hard as that is, because we do, those presidential candidates do end up kind of representing who we are, kind of the most effective spokespersons for us.
They get the most attention.
They get the most attention. They travel around the country. They inspire people to get, but lower ballot races inspire people too. When I ran for Congress, somebody came up to me after the fact and said, I was really inspired to see you run for office. Would you like to get coffee sometime? And he ended up now being treasurer for our state party.
Nice.
So
that's how that works.
Yeah.
That's how it works.
Right.
Sip Sauce says a big part of putting in the work is just showing up. And Justin P says, absolutely. Then Michelle, Jill and Jason Call are definitely why I'm here.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, we're past an hour. It goes by fast when we have such guests. Did you want to say anything in closing?
Gee, I mean, I repeat myself, but I'm very appreciative for everybody who's a member of the party. I really appreciate whatever time or money you're able to contribute. I believe, that if there's going to be hope, it's got to be through the kind of efforts that we're making here. I just don't see the hope coming through other channels. So, I think what we're doing is really important, even though it can be frustrating, can be discouraging when you don't get the results you want, but you have to understand that we're walking the right path, and we just have to keep walking it,
Right.
and bring other people along with us, and hope for the best for the future. So thanks to everybody who is involved in this endeavor. And we need your help at the local, state, and national level. Go to gpus.org and peruse the different committees that exist at the national level. And because a lot of those committees are lacking as many people as they would like to have. And there are issues committees, there's media committee, peace action committee. There are, the coordinated campaign committee that helps candidates at the local and state level, and the Green Congressional Campaign Committee that, for example, Ariel is on, that helps federal candidates. So there's many roles. I encourage people to please check out gpus.org to look at the different committees and get your state party or caucus to sign you up to join one of those that you might be interested in.
Yes.
Nice.
And if you're in Illinois, our website is ilgp.org. So please check us out too if you're specifically in Illinois.
And please like and subscribe to this live stream and this channel. We've done a lot of work on the channel. A lot of shorts have been doing very well. And that's Ariel's work as well. Just clipping out little nuggets out of our hour or two sometimes live streams that you don't.
Thank you, Ariel.
You kind of lose it in the conversation. And Christina is here. Hi, Christina.
Hey, Christina.
Says, hey, Justin. And she says, thank you for all of your hard work.
Oh my God. We got celebs in the audience tonight.
I know.
I love it.
Is literally the glue and amazing. I
yes.
100% agree. So Ariel, you are much loved.
Thank you for your Senate run in New Jersey, Christina. Hope to meet you face to face. I was very inspired by your run. Very happy to see it. And Ariel, I owe you an email. We are going to talk about base camp with our tech committee. I haven't followed up on that yet, but I promise you're going to hear from me soon. No, and I want to, in general, I want to get people talking across state lines even more.
Yes.
The truth is, when I joined the Connecticut Green Party, I didn't talk to people in other states very much at all. So I want to see more of that and make sure it's happening, because there's so much we can learn from each other about how to do things better. We all have different strengths. So
that's
what we love about this live stream. That's what what this live stream is about, is talking to everybody across the country from the Green Party.
Awesome.
Well, I think this is a great conversation. If you want to hang on after, Justin, you can. If you have to go, that's fine too. But here we go with the music. Mr. Scott Free.
And thanks everyone.
Thanks everybody.
Thanks everyone for joining in.
Is it playing?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Here we go.